Patriots of Ward Melville have marched their way into God's country, and for a 5-0 showdown between the two top dogs in big boy Suffolk County football, the Ward Melville Patriots visiting the William Floyd Colonials right here from Mastic Beach. And boy, oh boy, this should be a good one for our game of the week. Hi everybody, and welcome to William Floyd High School alongside David Resnick. I'm Dan Savarino. These are two teams that over the last couple of years have always been in the conversation, at least in terms of the playoffs. Floyd, yeah, we know that's always going to be up there. Last 2 years they've been in the championship game and won in 2016. But listen, Ward Melville, 5-0 start, one of the best in their program's history. They've been getting it going.
No question, it's their first 5-0 start since 1974. And maybe the coaches were on to something. William Floyd, preseason seed number 1. Ward Melville, preseason seed number 2. They're both perfect to this point. And as we emerge from this Saturday afternoon in Suffolk County, we will know who the team is to beat in Suffolk Division I.
Well, the big running back, and he's not that big. It's Nick Troy. He's a two-way player really on lacrosse field as well. But when you stick him with a football under his arm, boy, he get past you.
He sure can. And listen, he's athletic. We would expect that. We'd expect a running back to have good vision, to be able to cut back. But what Nick Troy has than maybe any other running back in Suffolk County, he's got the determination. His coach saying that earlier this season, he broke a play in which he broke 11 tackles. That means every single player on the defense had the chance to bring down Nick Troy, and they couldn't.
Paul Longo's been the head coach here at William Floyd High School 24 years and all the county titles, Long Island championships. But he said he has never had a better defensive line than he does right now. Big reason why, Keith Winfrey, 4-year starter at the end.
He has been a stalwart at that end, as you mentioned, Dan, leading the team in both sacks and tackle for a loss. His motor, his ability to disrupt the backfield, get to the quarterback, track down the running back, makes this defensive end special, now competing in his senior year.
So that's where we are. It's a battle for the top spot in Suffolk County Division I. 5-0 Ward Melville, 5-0 William Floyd, and it's coming up next on our Game of the Week live on Channel 61, News 12 Varsity. Five and 0 between these two programs for the top spot in Suffolk County. Ward Melville, William Floyd on homecoming here at William Floyd High School, and a great crowd on hand as always. The head coach is Chris Boltrick, 5th year at the helm, a Ward Melville Patriot himself, graduating in 2003. And on the other side, Paul Longo, 24th year. St. John the Baptist High School is where he graduated. He's been part of this program since the early 90s with 10 county titles and 5 Long Island championship games. This is one of these games that from the very beginning of the season, David, when the preseason came out, preseason seedings, 1 and 2. Floyd 1, number 2, Ward Melville. This was the game everyone had circled and said, how great would it be if they were both 5-0?
Yeah, it's interesting, and for Paul Longo in his 24th year, 183 wins, it's kind of old hat for him to be a preseason number 1, for him to understand the pressure of being the top dog and being the best team going into a season, to then face the challenge of going week after week against teams that want to knock you off.
As Chris Boltrick looks on the sidelines, this program has gotten better and better, and something that he brought up to us. Listen, you can have all these great accomplishments since 30 years and 20 years, but you have to beat the top dogs, the championships. It's the big staple wins that gets you to that next spot. Sebastian Panicia, longtime kicker, he's a singer. He's the senior. Green jersey, top and bottom, trimmed in white. They will be going from left to right on your TV screens, and back to receive will be Nick Troy, number 43, and 21, J.J. Lapp, as Ward Melville wears their white tops with the green bottoms. Pigskin on the pylon, fresh 12 on the clock. We're underway, and Lapp mishandles it inside of his own 5-yard line, picking it up from the goal line. Cuts towards his left, and this is where the Ward Melville Patriots will begin. Another year, another first-year starter for Chris Boltrek, and he's had one basically every single season that he has been the head coach. Trey Berry, a senior. He'll be playing lacrosse next season at Utah, but he's had some pretty good numbers this year. Just under 1,000 yards throwing, 57% completion, 12 TDs, 2 interceptions, but on the other side of the football with his legs, he can sure run it. And this is a real good dual threat competition for the Floyd defense that has been so stout this year. From the 11 is where they begin. Troy at the left hip. And he'll throw on the very first play. Looking for Lap down the far sideline and overshot him by a couple of feet.
Love the idea of taking a shot, not being afraid, deep in your own end, on the road. Homecoming at William Floyd to show the type of moxie and aggression that they expect to have today. If you're going to beat Floyd, you have to beat them. You can't play to lose. So the fact that they want to go over the top to their most prolific receiver on the first play, I think sends a big message to the rest of the team.
Velez splits out left. 3 receivers set. As they stack the box, William Floyd does. Ward Melville, 34 points per game is what they are averaging, and a big reason has been that run game of Nick Troy, who only picks up a couple of yards on this carry.
And Troy, somebody who's closing in on 700 yards on the season rushing. It's amazing to think that a year ago had 4 carries for 7 yards against Floyd. Nick Troy has waited his turn, and now he's the featured back for the Patriots.
Be a 3rd down and 7 from the 14-yard line. His Floyd defense, 9 points per game against. And here they look to get a first 3rd down stop. Berry moves right, throws. It is caught by Jack Gillian. And he'll be right at the sticks. We'll see where they spot this ball. Gillian, the junior, with his 9th catch of the year.
Did a nice job understanding where that imaginary yellow line was if you're watching on TV. On the crossing pattern, eyeing the sticks and understanding that he might need every inch of his full body 5'9" extension to get there.
This spot is inches. And Boltrek pleading to the officials to get the extra inches.
It's interesting. I think his knee was down on second look as he extended the football. So he didn't go completely parallel to the ground. He went down on a knee and extended. And so that's why I think the spot is just a little bit short for the Patriots.
So they will punt here. Tommy Delaporta, who's been averaging just under 27 yards. And 2 back to receive, and the always dynamic Tyshawn Lopez stands back there. Excuse me, Tommy Verga. And that's who the ball goes to, along with Clinton. They'll let this one bounce, and it just inside of midfield. So excellent field position for William Floyd on their very first possession. Defense does their job, and now here comes the offense led by Mac Driver, who has been up for a number of years. He was a Wildcat quarterback not a year ago, playing under a multi-year starter in Rob Tajani, now over at Wagner. But this is Driver's year. This is Driver's team to run the ship at QB1.
I mean, doesn't he just look like a Mac Driver, 6'3", 220? Somebody who is physical, somebody who's a dual threat, and somebody who engaged in a little pregame chatter. You could understand the intensity that he plays with, and also just the way that he towers over an offensive line, even made up of a lot of strong and big kids in front of him.
But all very young. First-year starters on that offensive line. And a big loss, at least on the offensive side of the ball right now for William Floyd. Nick Silva is out at the moment. You may see him in some goal line sets. So Tyshawn Lopez is their lead back, and that's who gets the first carry. Bust his way up to pick up about 3 or 4 yards. Lopez, a junior, who was on the team last year, more of a depth guy, but they really like what this kid can bring to the table.
As Kyle Musselman, a bit slow to get up, the right guard. He's going to limp his way to the huddle, but now also have to come off for a play as There was an injury stoppage on his behalf, and there's a look at the 6'4", 325-pound senior. But you talk about William Floyd, they're a bit of a throwback. They're out of the eye. They're playing on a grass field. They're a team that runs first, runs second, and just in case that's not working, they'll run again on third down. For Paul Longo, now in his 24th season, you want to talk about a team with an identity. At any point over those 25 years, you could walk to this field and see that type of offense and formation and depth as well.
2nd and 8 from the 45. Driver looking to throw here, intended for Clinton, but goes wide right. So a 3rd down upcoming. Driver's numbers this year: it's about 250 yards, 8 TDs, 3 interceptions, completions a little under 60%. But just a big dude, and that's something that Chris Boltrick was worried about. He's seen the good quarterbacks in this division, like a Quinn O'Hara against Whitman, but nobody really has that size and strength that Mac Driver does. Here on 3rd and 8 from the 45. Driver rolls right, throws on the run, incomplete. That was intended for Devin Brown, who does not have a reception this season. So 4th and 8 from the 45, and looks like they'll be bringing out the punting team to try and pin Ward Melville back, so both teams going 3 and out.
Patriots really engaged in terms of their sideline, really cheering and clapping on those incompletions on 2nd and 3rd down. This is a team that's really engaged and really looking to make a statement here in week 6.
Panigia does the punting as well and boots it right at Nick Troy. You always have to look out for. But this grass field will slow it down. Brown will touch it right around the 11-yard line, and that is where we'll see Ward Melville's 2nd drive of the contest. So Barry, during their first offensive opportunity, threw the ball once, got a couple of runs, got really short on one. And you see those numbers, we brought them up before, but last week, had 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, only 85 yards in the air, but also was the first INT he threw since week number 1. He's been really good at controlling the football and keeping the ball in their hands all season long. This will be from their own 12. 2 split out left, 2 to the right. Nick Troy down the near sideline and just tiptoes out of bounds into the Floyd bench. Now Troy is a real interesting back, and something that Boltrick brought up to us was that he was a little frustrated last year when you're playing behind someone like Nick Messina, who was just a stud running back for a number of years in this program. Troy had his big games every now and again. He's a guy who just wants the ball in his arms. In this his final season of playing football, be heading to the University of Michigan as a lacrosse player.
Hey, Mac, call me with half.
After a 4-yard pickup, it's 2nd and 6 from the 17. Troy to the right hip, now moves back to the left. Again, while Silva's out offensively, he still stands as that 4-year inside linebacker, 23. The throw from Barry intended for Gillian, and it is incomplete once again. 3rd and 6.
This is an RPO offense, a run-pass option offense. So we're going to see a lot of Trey Barry make a decision with the handoff to either keep it in the belly, keep it himself on a run, which he's prone to do, an athletic running type quarterback, or make the decision at that point to then throw it. And this is the type of offense that Chris Boltrick has used all 5 years as he's gone through 5 different starting quarterbacks.
Trips left, pressure comes, throws across the middle, intended for Velez. And nice coverage there by Rennell Thomas, who's only 5'6", but against a much bigger Velez, who stands 6'5", was able to get on top of him, and another punt is coming.
Giving up 11 inches there, but that's all about timing. And a pass that wasn't totally accurate. More into the body of Velez. That's a reception. It allowed Thomas to disrupt that catch just a little bit.
Delaporta to punt again. High in the air, and it's not going to go very far. Fair catch will be called by Clinton just outside of the 40, and he started to run. It's actually going to be a penalty. He already called for the fair catch. And even if this does back them up, still good field position once again. It was DJ Bennett who called for the fair catch, and Clinton was the one who took the ball. Still inside of Patriot real estate. They'll work from the 48. First down and 10. I formation once again. Lopez the lead back. Driver in the gun. The handoff to Lopez. Hits the gap hard. Doesn't go very far.
Lopez went away from the lead block of Randy Russo and decided to go between the tackles. You know, Ward Melville basically graduated every defensive starter from their team last season. A squad that went 5-4 and bowed out to Connecticut in the quarterfinals. And so to see a team gel like this as quickly as they have, allowing under 10 points per game through the first 5 weeks.
Here's a touch on the outside for Zion Wellington. Serious speed is what Paul Longo said about the youngster. Just a senior, but really his first year getting on this varsity roster and getting some looks.
They ran up the middle, nothing there. Wellington getting into space, bouncing it off of right tackle, and it is 7-8 yards down the field before a white jersey even lays a hand on Wellington, who will see increased action as he moves up the depth chart with Nick Silva not playing offense to this point.
And when you lose a dynamic player like Silva is, you get a little worried at that running back spot. Here they look for Clinton to the end zone. Oh, and right through his hands. Driver had Clinton wide open. Lap on the coverage, but was able to get over the top on him for an incomplete pass.
Jordan Clinton has it go through his grasp, and I almost want to believe the way that J.J. Lapp just provided enough resistance in the frame of reference, just in the vision, I should say, of Clinton as he tried to come down with it, because he was beat and a couple of steps behind. Lapp was step for step and then slowed up to make a play on the ball. It sailed over his head into Clinton's hands.
Clinton motions left. Driver will take the carry instead. Gets a good block on the outside and works down the sideline for a first down.
Tripped up there by Nick Governale. And Driver loved the eye candy from Clinton, showing some jet sweep action from right to left. And Driver runs into the spot vacated by Clinton. And those subtle things, the explosiveness of Clinton, the tough nose running from the backs, and then to have Driver play off of that makes this rushing attack very dangerous.
He loves being on the offensive side of the pigskin. Even though Coach Longo thinks that he can play Division I football on a defensive side solely, just a real good athlete as Lopez hits the gap in the end zone. 17-yard strike, and Floyd is on the board first. Sixth touchdown of the season for the junior Tyshawn Lopez. And that young offensive line finding plenty of holes for him. Panicia comes out for the PAT. 23 of 27 this season. Missed a couple last week. this one will be good. 7-0 lead. Thanks to good field position and the running of Tyshawn Lopez.
Favorite part of this play, from my perspective, watch Mac Driver. His hands go up immediately after this left side of the offensive line of pulling guard and tackle. They go straight up into the air as Lopez squeezes through that hole. Great job by Kyle Musselman and Zach Horter. Entire right side of the line pulling to open up that gap. And Tyshawn Lopez opens up the scoring for William Floyd. As you mentioned, Dan, taking advantage of that short field position, but not being discouraged after a touchdown that wasn't converted. And the way they distributed the ball between Driver and Lopez and Wellington, who really got it started with that run off the right side, picking up the first down of that series.
You look at some of the blocks there by this young offensive line. It hasn't been in about 5-6 years that you saw so many sophomores and freshmen start on the offensive line. And those are the years of Greg Amato, Brian Carney, Rocky Davis, guys who ended up winning a county title in 2016, and most of them playing college football now. It's a very, very young group of basically 6 players, and really just the one senior, 2 seniors, Danny Riley and Kyle Musselman. So 7-0 lead here on homecoming. On their second drive of the game, Panigia puts the pigskin back on the pylon. Troy is back to receive. And that's who they'll send it to. Goes off his hands, back into the end zone for a touchback. So 2 3-and-outs for this offense.
Taking a look here at the William Floyd sideline, the offensive line, as their teammates play defense, looking at a high end zone cam, really an all 22 look to try to learn and see what they did against a defensive front. I've never seen that before in terms of a team using a monitor like that on the sideline. And we know as the incomplete pass is thrown by Ward Melville that coaches now have the ability to look at replay on tablet devices live during the game from these high end zone cams. But I've never seen a team really implement that for a specific unit the way that William Floyd is using for their offensive line.
It's been the staple of Longo's teams, have big bodies up front to block for you. I don't know if it's just in the water or their workout program, maybe a mixture of both, but they always seem to have big boys up front. The 2nd and 10 from their own 20-yard line. Silva shows blitz, they pick it up, pass across the middle, and it's batted away by Driver. Nearly intercepted as well by the senior outside linebacker.
And the depth for William Floyd allows you to platoon where your offensive line only goes one way, and the defenders, including the outside linebacker Mac Driver, can go play on that unit and allow the offensive line to watch back some plays and figure out their next steps when they get back on the field.
With the intensity of this front 7, we have already seen Barry go quick as possible. Blitz comes, here comes the legs as he rolls right, throws intended for Velez, who bobbles the ball as he falls out of bounds into the Floyd sideline. So another 3-and-out for Ward Melville, and they'll punt here from their own 20.
Velez losing his left cleat as he jogs to the other side of the field. That William Floyd defensive line pressuring Barry there on 3rd down. Chris Boltrick looking on, a bit puzzled.
His punt will be inside as Clinton decides to pick it up. Ball gets loose. Ward Melville has it. Whistle blows anyway. They're saying it's their ball. No fair catch was called, and Clinton did touch it.
Was the catch completed at that spot where the beanie was thrown? Ward Melville comes away from that official conference thinking they're going to get the football.
It is Patriot football. There hasn't been a distinct call yet. Here it comes.
Referee saying that the punt was muffed. And there's a question as to whether or not, I think Clinton even got his hands on it, and they did.
Yeah, Mark Pav, number 44, was the one who picked it right out of his hands. So the Patriots get a break here. And so far, Clinton, a couple of tough plays on special teams have actually cost them the punt game. Down 7-0, drive continues for the Patriots.
So the Patriots take it at the spot of the fumble.
Their own 41. Barry working from the gun. The handoff to Troy, who works into the pile, and Nick Silva is there to stop and slow him down. Well, Nicky Silva has been a 4-year starting inside linebacker for Coach Longo, and he thinks that he might be the best inside linebacker, or linebacker in general, in all of Suffolk County and maybe the island.
5'8", 180. 4-year varsity contributor on both sides of the ball. While he started the last 3 as a running back, we have not seen him on offense yet today as he recovers from an injury, but that has not kept him from playing defense so far today.
And he was telling Coach the game is just so slow to him now. As Troy gets another touch and only picks up about 3 feet ahead against the big bodies of Gary Anderson and company.
So deepest penetration so far for Ward Melville, and extended life on this 3rd drive.
Third down.
They've been behind schedule, Dan, on 3rd down, really forcing Trey Berry into passing situations. He's completed a pass for a 3rd down, but they haven't picked up an offensive 1st down yet.
Troy, nowhere to go but the backfield. The pressure from Eddie Longo with the tackle, and another 4th down comes.
Nick Troy is the playmaker for the Patriots, and that's where they go to on 3rd down. He outruns PK Kite, but Floyd doing such a nice job of setting the edge. Longo is there with help from Keith Winfrey, and Troy gets tracked down.
Clinton and Verga back to receive. Delaporta punting for the 4th time in this first quarter alone. Still a little more than 5 minutes remaining in the opening frame. Fair catch is called, and it will be touched back at the 36-yard line of William Floyd. Deepest territory they have started a drive from all day long, but already up 7-0. Well, these are the top 2 seeds coming into this, meaning they have the 2 most difficult schedules, also meaning that the 2 seed will always be playing at the 1 seed towards the midpoint of the season. 5-0 starts, and if you remember just 2 years ago, David, it was a 6-0 start by Lindenhurst, a 6-0 start by William Floyd, and they met. And of course, it was a game that kind of ended up going to Lindy. They had the game won for them, but they remember this very seriously, to not take this kind of game lightly, even though they have a 5-0 start to the season. Driver, one of those guys on that 2016 team, and he brings it across midfield.
Mac Driver, more like Mac Truck. I mean, he's just so big with the good feet to elude the low tacklers. You know that if you try to hit him square, more times than not, Driver's going to have the edge, and so tacklers look to take him down low. and yet he still has the balance, has the evasiveness. That's one tackle, that's two. Knocking him just off his balance by J.J. Lapp, who came in with the low hit.
1st and 10 from the 47 of Melville. In the backfield, Zion Wellington. After the pressure from Max Hagel and Hunter McSweeney.
That play went nowhere fast. Defensive line bursting through and just pummeling Wellington, who found success in the first quarter from the right side. This play to the left, and the defensive line winning that battle in the trenches.
Two big bodies on the right side of that defensive line.
Multiple big bodies everywhere. This is Suffolk Division I, and whether it's something in the water or just the population or just the percentages, these teams have legitimate offensive and defensive lines.
Melville showing blitz. Driver throws, caught by Clinton. The first jersey tug will not take him down, but a tackle up just shy of the 40. So we'll bring a 3rd down upcoming. It's something that Chris Bolchik was telling us early on this week, David. Even though every single week you go into it, you play Suffolk Division I football, it is just a little bit different. You never come out of there saying, okay, it was just an easy one. Even the blowouts, everybody you play, you are going into a battle and a war.
That's really the beauty of this league, and that's why you see some teams that were picked to be in the upper echelon preseason are not there 5 weeks in.
Driver still has the ball, and he has the first down and more. From the 33-yard line, cuts to his left. Lapp saves the touchdown. What a fake by Mac. Driver on 3rd down brings him to goal line territory.
Big play for Driver, again making the decision to keep and making the play on 3rd down. Got to the outside. McCarthy had the first look at him in the backfield, and once Driver gets a full head of steam, it's tough to take him down as he saunters into the open field.
1st and goal from the 9. Driver again. The shoestring tackle will slow him down, but Luke McCarthy is the one who pounces on top of him, a senior D end.
Governale, first one there. That was a shoestring tackle you spoke of. And then McCarthy from the back, planting him into the natural grass here at William Floyd. Part of the mystique of playing all the way here on the south shore of Suffolk County.
They'll actually be getting a turf field. New press box couple of years, Coach Longo was telling me.
I don't like it.
Both of these teams actually play on grass. You don't hear that very often. As Wellington is now inside of the 5-yard line. Tackle made by Mark Corey, the starting middle linebacker.
I get the reasons for turf, obviously, but I don't know, when if you've gotten to this point in grass, this is a football environment. You know, when you're making tackles and you are driving people into the ground, you expect a little mud on the shoulder pads, and that's what we get today. And for a team that's so based in their ruggedness and their running and their toughness, they deserve to be on a grass field. That's who they are.
3rd and goal from the 4, and Melville didn't have the personnel they wanted on the field, so they have to burn their first timeout. With under 2 minutes to play here in a very long opening quarter that has seen plenty of action. I'm with you. I love the grass. As long as it's maintained well, which it is maintained very well here. It's a credit to the grounds crew.
I mean, it adds a different level to the atmosphere, especially because at this point it's unique. You know, it used to be a decade ago, oh my gosh, you have turf, that gives you an advantage, or you're the only ones with it. Now when you play on grass, that's a completely different animal. And for Suffolk County, playing the quarters and the semis at home before going to Laval Stadium at Stony Brook, that's a real advantage. And I don't know if it's really shown itself today. I don't think there's really been a moment yet, Dan, where you say, oh, the familiarity of playing on grass really helped them in that situation. But it's pretty cool.
And you look at these numbers offensively. Floyd, the best offensive team in this division. Both teams defensively very similar. And now Nick Silva is going to come in at running back. We might have seen him goal line situations. Here he is, leaps forward towards the end zone, and he's going to be marked up short at the 1.
He got upended there. Silva going in between the tackles. And it's good usage for him. You want to make sure that your most competent runner, sure-handed runner, is taking your important carries, and you want to make sure you're finishing off drives as Silva stands behind Russo on this now 4th and goal.
Keith Winfrey and PK Kite are both coming in, both defensive linemen, to add some extra blocking as Silva bursts across the goal line for a touchdown. On 4th and goal, Floyd has doubled their lead.
I just love everything about it. The decision, the package. I love when teams say, we're going to run it, try to stop us, and we're going to bring in some extra meat, and we're going to just push you off the ball. Nick Silva, not 100%, but still that warrior mentality to fight through over the goal line.
Panicia's PAT is good. This drive started back on their own 36-yard line, and big runs by Driver twice. Eventually capped off by Nicky Silva on his 8th touchdown of the season. He's just a bowling ball that runs right past you, and he's been doing this a long time, David.
Lead blocker, 2 extra linemen, and then Silva to cap it off. Touchdown for Floyd, and a 2-score lead in the first quarter.
He wasn't the primary back as a freshman, but he did start at running back throughout the season. He's never, well, Paul Longo, you see him on the right talking to Silva, said he's never had a 4-year starter go both ways, ever in his 24 years. Nicky Silva is that lone guy up top. Just a different kind of kid, real warrior.
Silva capping off a 64-yard drive that took 4 minutes of this first quarter.
So now the Patriots have some work to do. They've had the ball 4 times thus far and have punted 3 and out every single time. Oh, and by the way, this is only the first quarter. Panicia, end-over-end kick. Troy picks it up from the 10. Has some open grass. Burst up through the seams to the 30-yard line. So decent field position to start for the Patriots offense, who through their first 5 games this year have been averaging more than 400 yards per game. 185 passing, more than 215 in terms of rushing. And still looking for their first down of the contest. Two receivers on both sides. Troy to the left hip. Manelli, the outside linebacker, showing pressure. They go to Troy. Cuts back to his left. Dances his way up to the 35. And they'll mark him right at the 36. So a 6-yard pickup for Nick Troy, which is actually one of his longest, I believe, the longest run he's had today.
Love the way that he turns the corner, and you could see the way he just scans. He's not rushed, looking for his blocker, looking for the cutback, looking for the lane. Nick Troy looks like a senior in control.
They send 6. The handoff again to Troy, breaks a couple of tackles, keeps churning those legs, and picks up the first down at the 44-yard line.
They sent the inside linebacker Randy Russo on a blitz, and he was picked up as Troy, spinning off, and initially ran into the blitz, but the elusiveness to bounce away, to spin away, and pick up a first down for the Patriots.
I think they call those lacrosse hips.
They call everything with lacrosse first name in Ward Melville. Lacrosse feet, lacrosse hips, lacrosse hit.
6 seconds to go here in the quarter, and they got him to jump. So it works out for the Patriots as they'll pick up 5 yards here on offsides.
Remember to check out the concession stand. It is open. Get all your afternoon delights, hot dogs.
It's an encroachment call against William Floyd.
Stuff down there. Drinks, soda, and you go. They got it. Check them out.
There's no offside in high school, just a
And that's the end of the opening quarter. 12 minutes in the books. The Patriot offense starting to come together here on their last drive. They'll have it from midfield in the second. But it has been the defense that has been working so well for William Floyd through the first. They're up 14-0 on our News 12 Varsity Game of the Week. It's turned out to be a beautiful fall day here in Suffolk County. It was raining, it was cold, it was in the low 50s.
Names on the bottom piece.
And to be honest with you, I bundled up for the first time all year. I know you did a little bit too, David.
But it was not my first time.
Bundling up this year?
Yes. You keep a tab of that?
I usually do. To me, this is football weather. I was wearing shorts all week long. Nick Troy, another good run, picks up the first down. So for the first time today, they have picked up first downs and on this very same drive.
Do you guys have David? Do you have David? Okay.
First and 10 from the 38, deepest field position thus far. Barry going from left to right, and Troy gets the number again. First met there by Driver and Winfrey. And Keith Winfrey, someone that we brought up during our open, getting offers right now from Division I schools like Maine, Stony Brook, UNH. Been a 4-year starting D-end. And that was the matchup that we brought up early on. Troy against Winfrey. And really just this front seven as a whole. 2nd and 8 from the 39-yard line of Floyd. Barry was going to look to throw here. 3-step drop across the middle into traffic. Incomplete, looking for Gillian, and it's going to be a flag on the play as well as the official goes down and just got caught in the middle. Gillian was hounded across the middle. We'll see if this will end up being pass interference or not as they talk things over.
Greg Trent running into the umpire, playing coverage, and the flag is picked up.
All right, Gillian jumping up and down on the far side. So 3rd down and 8. And they have yet to convert on 3rd down in this contest. From the left hash mark, Barry looks left, throws left, caught by Velez, who pushes up. He'll still be short, though, right around the 32.
It's a great tackle by DJ Bennett coming into today's game, not 100% with an ankle injury, wrapping Velez up immediately and taking him down, not allowing Velez to use that 6'5" frame to stretch for that first down.
4th down, they're going to go for it for the first time today. They need 3 yards. 2 receivers on both sides. Troy at the right hip. Gillian motions right. Barry looks left and throws across the middle and just through the hands of Velez. Overshot him by a little bit to their top receiver. So a turnover on downs, and you like the call at that situation. Deepest field position, you finally had a drive that got some momentum going, but now you need your defense to step up here.
Well, it's a bit of a math game as well. It was snapped at the 33. If you punt it into the end zone, William Floyd starts at the 20. So you're only dealing with about 13 yards of field position, and by going for it, you give your offense the chance to convert and march closer to the end zone. So as much as we might want to talk about mentality or schematics in that thought process, a lot of times it comes down to math.
They stack the line. And it'll be Zion Wellington. Oh, check that. It was Tyshawn Lopez who got the carry. Now again, it is homecoming. There will be celebrations, and there were early on yesterday, and will be during the halftime. Some teams, and I'm curious about your opinion on this, David. Some teams take exception to being picked as the homecoming game.
Yeah, I think maybe I'll get into it more after second down.
2nd and 9. Wellington to the outside, gets close to those sticks. Tackle made by Lapp.
It's a bit cliche. It's a bit manufactured. And I would agree that a coach has to use any conceivable angle to try to motivate or excite their team. So I will give them that leniency. But scheduling homecoming for the second-ranked team is probably just done something either based on the calendar or wanting to have a big game atmosphere for a big game.
3rd down and 2. Lopez hits the hole and use those bodies up front. Looks like the spot will be just in front of the marker. No signal yet, and there is the first down.
Now, at the college level, those administrators definitely choose a matchup they feel like their team can win.
I can understand that. We've seen it, listen, other times, and I've been at other homecomings over the years where some of the teams say, man, I can't believe we lost to them on homecoming. And did a Longwood game a couple of years back, and it's escaping my mind who they played, but they lost on homecoming, and that was something that actually, you know, really got in their mind more.
Really memorable game.
Yes. And all of them kind of meshed together after a while, not going to lie. I remember most of them here, though. I will tell you that. And we have to give a big shout, I'll do it right now, to the Floyd moms once again, who provided us with a great spread, as they always do. Always take care of us anytime we come out to William Floyd High School. Mark Corey, first-year starter there, and was a backup last season, and has been the anchor of this inside linebacking core. 2nd down and 10 from their own 42. Floyd from the gun. Clinton works right. Now motions. Clinton in the backfield. Dan Casera read it beautifully for a loss.
That is a plant-worthy hit. The type of drive down to the turf that's going to leave a little bit of mud on the jersey. And that was a square, hard, clean hit. And well done by the free safety coming up to make the play.
Got right past Randy Russo, the H-back. Casera, the senior, who has 20 tackles on the season. Just a junior. 3rd and 14 after the 4-yard loss. Driver throws, it's batted, incomplete. Michael Fiore gets a piece of the ball. And now 4th down, situation upcoming for William Floyd. The punt team will come out.
Patriots are hanging tough. They're hanging in. It's not so much a question of their defense at this point, because they're making enough plays. That ball batted by the outside linebacker, Michael Fiore. Can their offense generate a big play? Can they cut the deficit in half, approaching 7 minutes to go in this first quarter? A look at Fiore, who stays on in special teams. Can Nick Troy do something with this punt? It should be returnable.
This is where he's very dangerous, and they want to keep it away from him.
Unless, of course, it's not returnable.
And Troy has won this season where he actually brought it back.
7:04 to go in the half.
So it'll be 1st and 10 from the 34-yard line. And this is a drive that they want to continue. Again, Floyd will get the ball to start the 3rd quarter. Just a 2-score game. Or the Patriots, who come in at 5-0 after their win against Whitman last week on their homecoming. And Whitman, a team that was expected to and has been in that mix. Berry will throw on 1st down. Incomplete. Intended for Pat O'Neill. So Berry's having some trouble getting his throws in at the moment, and you wonder if a big reason why is the pressure that he has. He has to get that ball out so quickly today.
The front for William Floyd has been strong. They're a base 3-4, but they will bring in a nose tackle for a 4-man line, but they really creep up those offensive linemen at times to make it seem like a 5-man front, and Berry has to figure out where the pressure is going to come.
2nd down and 10. Manelli pressuring on the outside. Berry keeps it himself, cuts to his right, and is tackled by Keith Winfrey.
Winfrey, great motor, athletic, a strong, quick player, occupying the left side of the defensive line. And we saw Manelli and Driver creep closer to the line of scrimmage, and then to see the inside guys as well, including Eddie Longo creeping closer. We'll see where the pressure is this time.
3rd down. Berry throws. It's caught by Lapp. It's low, and he's going to go all the way to the 20, the 10, 5, touchdown. First 3rd down conversion. And it turns to a TD.
65 yards. A fingertip catch by J.J. Lapp in stride. And a quick slant designed to pick up the 1st down goes all the way for the Patriots.
J.J. Lapp, his team best 7th touchdown reception of the season. Had one last week as well, and that quieted this crowd. Again, they will be going for 2 here. That has been an area they have struggled place kicking all season long. Troy to the left. Fiore to the right hip of Berry. 2-point conversion on its way. Berry throws left and incomplete. That was intended for Velez, who slipped into the end zone. The pass was high anyway. So they get on the board first time today, and first time you end up converting on 3rd down. And what a catch this is by Lapp.
Exactly. First the catch in between 2 defenders and a flat-footed Thomas. And then the athleticism to speed away, to first to secure the catch and then get into that 2nd gear right away. William Floyd sent a blitz. The help that they did have was divided and split. And so Lapp into the secondary, into the end zone rather quickly. Ball skills, athleticism for Lapp. Leads the team in both receptions, yards, and touchdowns. He's emerged big time as a playmaker for Ward Melville in his senior year.
That's his 5th touchdown in his last 4 games. Kind of under the radar at the moment, but still getting looks at that Division II and III level to play some football next year. 2-way player to boot. Clinton will be back to receive in the lone man deep. He'll squib it right up the middle, and whistle blows. Oh, knee was down. Caleb Rosenthal Vincenti was the one who took that kick. So ball will be spotted right inside of the 30. It'll be at the 27. Well, after only punting for the second time today, here comes the Floyd offense. And the Patriots have made this a game. 1st and 10 from their own 27. Driver batted away. That was intended for Clinton, and Dan Caceres having himself a pretty good one on defense to start.
Read it the whole way from his safety spot, and getting in the way of that pass from Driver intended for Clinton. Nice job reading the quarterback's eyes, seeing the play develop, and getting there in time to make a difference.
They've looked at Clinton a few times, have been yet to convert with him. Brown motions, they'll look to Wagner. Incomplete. The coverage from Pat O'Neill.
Wagner got his hands on it, undercut there by O'Neill. And a moment ago, I said Ward Melville's defense was hanging tough. The team was hanging tough. Could they cut the deficit in half? And their defense is really giving their entire team a spark. And for William Floyd, on one of their touchdowns, they took advantage of short field position beginning around midfield. Their second touchdown drive, they went back-to-back in the first quarter, was a lengthy one. But this defense overall has been pretty stout in a quarter and a half.
3rd and 10. Driver time to throw. Threads the needle to Clinton, who makes the catch. That's a heck of a play by Jordan Clinton.
It's a terrific throw by Mac Driver, a low line drive, squeezing it into a window, and Jordan Clinton watching it into his body right in front of J.J. Lapp, who already has 4 interceptions this season and is a bit of a ball hawk. That's a terrific conversion for William Floyd at a time where their offense was sputtering.
Clinton's been on this team for a number of years. Moved from the wide receiver last year. The sophomore, he was their fastback along with Silva. Lopez bounces off a tackle. Caceres in the backfield. He has been a force to be reckoned with. Number 20 in white.
Have yourself a day, Dan Caceres. That's 3 plays on the last 2 drives in which he's either broken up a pass by sprinting half the field or just watching a play and providing a big, timely hit for a loss, dragging down Lopez. That's a 4-yard loss and a TFL for Caceres.
Second down and 14 from their own 41 here in the second quarter. Wellington has some space on the outside, breaks one tackle, and is wrapped up back at the original line of scrimmage. They're going to give him up to the 46. Nice coverage there by the Patriots, and now a 3rd down will ensue.
Jack Gillen with the final blow. There were a couple of missed tackles there. Credit Wellington, but Ward Melville is hitting hard. Oh man, Gillen just standing up the running back and allowing him to go no further.
3rd down and 9. And they've already converted once on this drive. Show blitz again. Driver looking to throw. Here comes the pressure. Hit as he throws. It's Lopez. Lopez breaks 2 tackles. Now he's up the left sideline. A 1st down and even more
that screen took a long time to develop as Mac Driver took a sizable drop, backpedaling to have this play developed. And I just credited a moment ago the Ward Melville defense in their tackling, but not on this catch as Tyshawn Lopez works his way into open space. That's one missed tackle, a second missed tackle, and by that point where he's finally brought down, the Colonials are in Patriots territory and a first down.
And here comes an encroachment call.
A pickup of 21 leading to this 1st and 10 for the Colonials. And this would be a good bounce back drive for William Floyd, facing that 3rd down, converting, having given up the touchdown defensively on the last drive, to pull back to a 2-touchdown lead leading into halftime would be a big deal, especially for a team that will get the ball to start the second half.
1st and 5 from the Patriot 28. Clinton motions left. Wellington gets the call, breaks 2 tackles down the sideline, cuts to his right, he stopped at the 10, and I think there's going to be a high hit as well. Well, it's nice to have some running back depth, especially when you lose someone like Silva in this game, who again out with injury. But Lopez and Wellington have done a pretty fine job.
The personal foul goes against the Patriots. Will be half the distance in 1st and goal without the 5-yard line.
A counter run by Wellington, finding space down the sideline, and it was Gillen who provided a helmet-to-helmet hit as his legs somewhat buckled, and so after the big gain, personal foul, half the distance to a goal of the goal, William Floyd in prime position.
Silva is in, Driver takes it from 1st and goal, keeps moving the legs, and it'll be down to maybe the 2. Either you have the smaller guys who just keep bouncing off of tackles like Silva, or the big body like Mac Driver. And here they bring in that big package once again with Kyton Winfrey guarding the sides.
And Longo as well as the lead back, or lead blocking back, I should say.
Silva hurdles over, he's in. Nick Silva finishing off the business of this drive that converted 2 on 3rd down, and they get the 6th right back.
Another 4-minute, I should say, touchdown drive for William Floyd. Both of them capped off by Nick Silva. Where do you sign up for the job to check in to score touchdowns? That sounds like fun.
Panigia is perfect today, and the lead is 21-6. Second rushing TD for Nicky Silva.
Going airborne. Right over the top. Wasn't so much of a clean jump. We'll get a look at it this way. He just flung himself right into a pile of bodies and got the edge of the football over the goal line with just inches on the white line and into the green paint for his 2nd touchdown of the day. 9 touchdowns on the season, and when you think back to his performance last year, 18 carries, 129 yards. He's not going to approach that today in terms of the volume and the output, but he had 3 touchdowns last year. Dan, he very well might duplicate that today.
So a big first half as usual, so it seems, for William Floyd High School, who generally puts points on the board early and very often. Patriots have been hanging around here. Now they'll have basically a 2-minute drill. Try and cut into this deficit. Benicia, the soccer player, whose dad is actually the soccer coach. He will kick it from right to left. Lapp and Troy back to receive. This one will be short and picked up from the 30. That was Fiore who moved it up about 6 yards. These two groups have seen each other for a number of years now, of course, playing in this same division. And when you look at the last 10 meetings between the two, it really has been Floyd that has had their number time and time again, with the exception of that 2015 team, which again in 2016 they met twice. Ward Melville upset number 1 Lindenhurst and moved their way on to the county championship for what an exceptional county championship that was between the two.
That one win for Melville in 2015.
Troy picks it up, knocked into the backfield. And the tackle made there by number 40, Mike Terry.
Was a 3-6 season for the Colonials, their first losing year since '97. And since that season, William Floyd has been 24-4. So in 16, 17, and the first 5 weeks of 18, 24-4 with 2 county title appearances and that victory in 2016.
And a lot of those guys have been here for 3-4 years now. Now let's see. I think Winfrey has the ball. Excuse me, Thomas has the ball, but they're going to say it was already incomplete.
That really is the point where they were freshmen in 15, whether they were on the varsity or in the program, and it's been this senior group that's gotten a lot of experience and a lot of victories over the last 3 seasons. And members of the core back in 2016 are seniors now. And they're looking to cap off the back end of their 4-year high school career with 3 straight trips to the county finals and 2 championships.
3rd down and 15 from their own 33. They've only converted once, 1 for 5, and it turned into a TD before. Here's Troy on 3rd down. Cuts to his left, and he'll be stopped at the 37-yard line. So it'll be 4th down. And here comes the punting team.
Timeout taken by William Floyd. Nice job with their clock management. Ward Melville went conservative on 3rd down, running the ball, keeping the clock moving, except William Floyd using one of their 3 timeouts to get the ball back and preserve as much of this clock as they can. Remember, Floyd gets the ball to start the 3rd quarter. A score on the back end of the 2nd and then the front end of the 3rd. That really has a chance to put a major dent into this game.
Well, if you look at the William Floyd schedule, of course, all wins thus far. This was the big game they had circled on the 13th, but you manhandle Longwood week 1. Look at the points against. The shutout against Comac. Comac also just beat Longwood last week. Everybody is pretty wide open after 1 and 2 from basically 3 down. It could be a very different postseason that we see in 2018. But Station North is always kind of been a tough opponent right in the middle of the pack. Connecticut is always in the mix each and every year. The goal is always 8-0, but the goal even more so is to get yourself back to a championship. Otherwise, they consider it a failed season. Mishandled the punt and knocked into the backfield by Kite. PK Kite could be playing football at the next level. A little undersized for his position.
Well, he was the right size to make that play as he came in on Della Porta after he couldn't handle the snap. William Floyd preserved clock so that they can drive from conceivably their own end. And now this drive is starting inside of the 30 of Ward Melville with 1:14 to go and 2 timeouts. That's a world of time for this offense.
Driver looking to throw across the middle, intercepted by Lapp. He already leads the counting in INTs. Here's another one going down the sideline for a pick 6. How about that? J.J. Lapp has all 12 points on the board for Ward Melville.
And he legged it out at the end. He was cruising across midfield, and I didn't think the Colonials would have the angle. And then as he started to tire, there was a chance. A 70-yard return, or 80-yard return, make it. Lapp flying into the end zone. An incredible turn of events, because you're looking at potentially a 3-score game at halftime, and that's a 2-touchdown swing right there.
2-point conversion upcoming. That is just Ward Melville football at its best. A group that never gives up. Even when things aren't really going their way on one side of the pigskin. Keeps the Patriots in this contest. So here's the 2-point conversion. Barry tries to take it in himself. Got tackled by Silva. It'll be an unsuccessful 2-point conversion. So the score will stay 21-12 with under a minute to play in the second.
Good read by Barry, but gets chopped down by one of the best in the business. And J.J. Lapp yucking it up with his head coach after just an incredible play in which he just jumps the route, jumps the slant intended for Clinton, and we get to see the run back. Just about there, I thought he started to labor, but he still had plenty and enough for a celebration.
Well, think about it. He went 80 yards for an INT. Before it was 65 yards for a 3rd down TD. He's running all over the place today.
Yeah, he's lapping the field.
Nice. Always good for a David Resnick pun.
I mean, that one just...
It fell right in your lap.
Wrote itself, you know, as you were talking about all the real estate that he covered with his 2 touchdowns. You know, it's interesting when you're looking at just body in uniform. Marcus Velez is going to stand out, and he's an incredible receiver, 6'5", 230. But when you really look at this offense and you see what makes it go, or who the explosive playmaker is, and I know that we're really reflecting on a defensive play, but the way that he caught it and jolted, just such an athletic kid, and fearless on that defensive play. You know, he's got 7 offensive touchdowns, and that play almost looked like an 8th, just the way that he caught the ball and sprinted. In this case, it happened to be defense and running the other way, but J.J. Lapp has been the point production for Ward Melville today.
Another week, another INT. And it's going to be a timeout here. Well, playing the 2 schedule honestly might be tougher than the 1 sometimes. You have to play that 2 because of all the teams that you see front-loaded and then back-loaded the way it goes. And Ward Melville to start off 5-0. Connecticut has always been a great opponent for them and having to play there on the road. And then there's plenty of other teams there that have all been in the mix, the Sachums, the Pat Meds. But now you have to face Floyd today, Longwood, who generally has been a power for a number of years, and then Comac, who has had themselves a pretty good season to boot.
Patchmed and Sachem East are the two common opponents for William Floyd and Ward Melville to this point. Obviously, both teams own 2-0 records against those common opponents. William Floyd won those games in more convincing fashion, but a win is a win, right?
Line drive kick. Clinton doesn't know where it is, and then he boots it, picks it back up, and only gets up to the 40-yard line. And he's had some trouble on the kick return, punt return areas today. Issue with him, though, is once he gets one, he could go the distance any given time. So they have just a little under a minute and 2 timeouts remaining. Back from their own 39-yard line. We'll be getting the pigskin to start the third quarter, remember. Two slotted on both sides. Lopez to the right hip of Driver. Clinton motions. Here's Jordan Clinton. Gets the carry. Stiff arms one. Cuts across midfield to the 43-yard line where Casera makes the stop. That's the explosiveness of Jordan Clinton.
Diminutive Renali Thomas, 5'6", 170. The wide receiver, a great sealed block on the edge that really sprung the run.
Timeout called by William Floyd. So they will have one remaining here in the quarter. Jordan Clinton, 3-year varsity player, might be the best athlete in the county according to Paul Longo. And guess what? He also coached his dad.
You know, you were talking, Dan, a bit about the schedules and the difficulty of William Ward Melville front and back. Both these teams are undefeated. We've gone through that storyline quite a bit. And as expected, both teams would then be at the top of the standings in Suffolk Division I. And while Floyd on paper probably has the more impressive resume, by power points, it's actually Ward Melville coming into week 6 as the #1 ranked team. Definitely a few surprises in that mix. Connecticut was a team further down preseason, all the way to number 3. Pat Med was a higher ranked team that is off of the page, and so that's the standings for Suffolk Division I entering this week 6 showdown.
Yeah, it's a combination of your preseason seeding. It's a combination of who you beat, how far above they are of you, how below they are of you if you lose to them. So that's why this is all mixed up, and things will not really be decided until the end of the season. But this is pretty much the game that can solidify that top spot for both of these groups. 1st and 10 from the 42. Pressure comes from the outside. Good block. Allows a throw to Wagner. Who's in? 42-yard strike with a little more than a half minute to play in the half.
That's a 42-yard touchdown reception.
Well protected, well thrown, fingertips catch, and Wagner set to spot the hold for the PAT.
Panicia out for his 4th. Ball's down, laces to the front, right between the 2 yellow bars. 4 for 4 on the PAT, and it's a 28-12 lead. And there you go, you get that score up again. And only really takes 2 plays. Look at this block from the outside.
Separation, throwing over the top. Wagner has the defender beat. And the extension at the end for good measure. Closer to 44 yards on the connection. And a perfect throw as Driver released it right in the middle of the logo. Wagner, first touchdown today, and I believe of the season as well, as he hauled in his 4th reception of the year.
Samsung Ultra HD 4K Smart TV raffle is coming around.
28-12. This has been a very long and entertaining first half of action from William Floyd High School, and you wouldn't expect it any other way.
You know, this really brings us back to when Floyd up 21-6, getting the ball back with a chance to extend it to a 3-score lead. Then we alternate touchdowns in the final 2 minutes. So it brings us back to that moment where Floyd is in control, but Ward Melville is hanging around. And every time it seems the Colonials need to answer, they need to put a touchdown drive together, they have a big play in their arsenal.
Slipped and picked up back from the 5-yard line. Stephen Germain brings it just past the 25. So you have one timeout remaining and 25 seconds to go. You are giving up the football. Do you give one shot?
No. At this point, you're protecting this deficit. Because any mistake at this point of the field, you're gift wrapping Floyd the opportunity to put an extra score on the board by taking 2 or 3 or 4 shots at the end zone. So I love the aggression of the first play from scrimmage, throwing the ball, but with less than a half minute to go, I know you have playmakers, and I know somebody like Troy or Lapp could break one, but I don't think this is the prudent decision.
Troy with the carry. Burst through a couple of tackles, and PK Kite picks him up after a 9-yard gain. And they will call... No, clock stops. And now they are calling the timeout. So they'll use their final timeout and have 15 seconds. And they're actually going to add some time onto this clock for 18 seconds. Well, that's what Nick Troy can also do for you. It only takes really one play for him to open things up and then go the whole distance.
Maybe I'm a pessimist because it only takes one play to end this game.
In both directions, yes.
In terms of Ward Melville breaks a play, it's a 1-score game, okay. That's really good. You give up the ball deep in your own end where William Floyd takes a 3-touchdown lead, the game's probably over. Remember, you've only scored one offensive touchdown today. Your other touchdown came on a pick 6. And so I like the idea of being aggressive as just like an overall theme, and I think Chris Boltrick has really tried to build a program and really tried to elevate the play. As you take a look at what they did 2 years ago, getting to the county final, winning a playoff game for the first time since their last county championship in '87. That same year was the last time before last season that they hosted a playoff game. And then since '74, they're 5-0, which was sandwiched between 1974, 2 trips to the county final.
Ball squibs out after they try the little flip out to the side on a lateral pass.
And if you really think and put what you just saw in context, Ward Melville has a pair of county titles. '87, which was a benchmark year in terms of the last time they won a playoff game, the last time they hosted a playoff game, the last time they went to the county final. But then they also won a county championship in '75. And '73, '74, '75, they either went to a county final, or in '74 they started 5-0. So arguably the last 3 years have been as good as any 3 years in Ward Melville football history. The only difference is what would put those other eras ahead is that there isn't a title yet to show for it.
So I didn't see a flag on this play, but they're going to call this a fumble. So where the ball went out was actually, as we said, the ball ended up moving out as they tried the lateral pass on the outside after the catch from Lapp. They're going to call it a fumble, and it moves the ball all the way up to the 30, or actually the 40-yard line. So how about that? And Paul Longo not very happy. Neither is the entire sideline of William Floyd. But now you have 10 seconds remaining, out of timeouts, of course, with 10 seconds to go and 40 yards from putting 6 on the board.
And I think part of what the discussion is that because of the type of fumble, it doesn't go back to the spot. Play continues from where it went out of bounds. They're not advancing. They're kind of just picking up from where it went.
Barry from the gun. Nowhere to go. It's Andrew Manelli, the outside linebacker, who gets the stop. And there's zeros on the scoreboard for the end of the first half. 28-12. And William Floyd has not trailed in this game once. Nick Silva only has 3 carries in the entire game, and 2 of them have been for touchdowns, just in goal line situations. But even though, David, this is a game that, again, is a 2-score game at this point, you still can always look at Ward Melville, who have continued to keep their heads up high and have continued to keep this game progressing.
Yeah, I think when you look at it, they have hung tough. They are definitely in it. But we've seen an offense that hasn't really been able to put first downs together. And so they've relied on the big play exclusively, whether it be a J.J. Lapp long touchdown reception or a J.J. Lapp pick 6. And so when you're reliant on that big play, you have to wonder whether or not adjustments can be made to be more sustainable on offense as you do trail by those 2 touchdowns.
For you, if you're the Patriots, what adjustments are you making?
I'm looking for ways to get the passing game more effective, whether it be to find ways to get Velez more involved or open up those type of slants for Lapp, because running against this front 7 and the front 3 in particular, this defensive line for William Floyd, even for somebody as talented as Nick Troy, might just be too tough to even consider in the second half.
Well, we have plenty for you during this halftime, which is upcoming from William Floyd High School. Stay with us on News 12 Varsity. Our game of the week, it's been an entertaining first half. 28-12, the Colonials are leading the Patriots. We'll be right back. From the grass field of William Floyd High School, a lead for the Colonials in this battle of unbeatens. Dan Savarino, David Resnick, thank you so much for joining us for our Saturday News 12 Varsity Game of the Week. In this first half, David, that first quarter, first of all, felt like a very long time. There were so many things going on, tons of 3-and-outs, at least from the Ward Melville side, but you saw the run game work once again for the Colonials.
Yeah, and for William Floyd, without the services of Nick Silva in a full-time capacity, it opens up an opportunity for Tyshawn Lopez through a big gap to score from 17 yards out to make it 7-0. Nick Silva is available today in an offensive perspective for short yardage situation, and he plunges it in from for a 1-yard score to make it 14-0. J.J. Lapp, the big play ability for Ward Melville. He's been the point output today for the Patriots. Another look at this quick slant in which he goes low to catch it with the fingertips and then explodes into the open field for the 65-yard touchdown. 2-point conversion no good at this point. A 14-6 game midway through the second quarter. Nick Silva will get his number called one more time with 2:16 to go. He goes airborne for his second touchdown of the game. J.J. Lapp did it offensively. How about defensively? The interception and then pick 6, sprinting nearly 80 yards the other way for the touchdown for William Floyd. This with under a minute to go in the first half, when it seemed like Floyd had a chance to put the game away by going up 3 scores. Ensuing drive, Mac Driver with the touch over the top to Matthew Wagner, and William Floyd ends the first half with a 44-yard hookup and a 28-12 lead. they nullify the touchdown they gave up to the Ward Melville defense to maintain that 2-score lead into the break.
It just makes that third quarter set up for, of course, a real exciting one. And as expected, this game has been pretty close throughout, even though Floyd has led the entire way and the Patriot offense hasn't totally been at the level they have been playing at. There's still, of course, a lot of promise as you head into the second half if you are Ward Melville.
Well, it sets up a situation where the opening drive of the second half could mean everything. William Floyd is going to get the ball. They're coming off of that touchdown. They're up by 2 scores. If they go up 3 scores, even though it would be early in the third quarter, presumably, does Ward Melville have enough offensively to mount a comeback? And so I'm really looking into the first drive, for the first 5 minutes of that third quarter. I think it'll tell us a lot as to how the second half and ultimately the game will go.
And something to note, William Floyd has not played a complete game all season long. It is something that Coach Paul Longo brought up to us during our chat during the week. He mentioned this even early on the season to other news outlets. He's happy in a way that you don't have to play that full game because it keeps guys healthy and it means that you were up early on, but he was a little concerned if this game had to go 4 quarters.
Complete game in terms of having his players out there for all 4 quarters, not a complete game in the sense of offense, defense, special teams.
Well, next week, our game of the week will be heading to the Garden State. The News 12 Varsity Game of the Week will be on Facebook Live as well as Channel 61. Red Bank Catholic Rumson collide for Friday night under the lights at 7 p.m. Battle of Unbeatens on Facebook Live, Optimum Channel 61. Game of the Week brought to you by Jersey Mike Subs. Be a sub above. That should be a real good one. You and Lou heading out there to New Jersey. Home state of Lou. Not you. I mean, you're kind of a home. You have many homes here. That's what I really should mention. You're a nomad, if you want to call it.
I think we all cover everything, so we all have homes.
28-12 is the score here at halftime. We return. We'll get you started for the third quarter of action in our News 12 Varsity Game of the Week here from Suffolk County. Stay with us. Welcome back. We said that a ton during this halftime. We promise you, this is it. We're starting the third quarter. 28-12, and William Floyd will start with the football. Very, very important drive here for Mr. Driver, Mac Driver, who does not have a touchdown today with his legs, just one with his arm, which he found Wagner towards the end of the half. And the Ward Melville Patriots, where all 12 points have been scored by number 21 right there, J.J. Lapp, who just walked past on your screen. There he is, an INT, pick 6, 80 yards plus his 65-yard touchdown grab on third down. And that's all the scoring for the guys in gold and green. A battle of all green today with the green grass. There's too much green out here on the field. I need a little more color, a little more flair. I don't know about you.
What are you looking for?
I like the pink, though. Support breast cancer awareness, which is great on both of these sides. Both teams wearing some pink out there on their sleeves, on their socks, to support the breast cancer awareness in this month. Well, 16-point deficit for Ward Melville, and maybe the most important defensive drive that will be upcoming for this group, as many have made their way out here to God's country, and a lot of former players who are home for the weekend from their college teams, from college in general, for homecoming that generally brings in packed crowds from start to finish.
That's assuming you can find the field.
Oh, yeah, you had trouble today, didn't you?
You know, you told me there was a big property, or at least our producer, Brian Butler, said, wait till you see the land out at William Floyd. Oh, I saw the land, almost every inch of it coming in. Just a interesting and beautiful backdrop. It's almost like there's a football field in just the middle of a large field.
They put it towards the ground. Clinton is wrapped up inside of the 30-yard line, and we're underway for the third quarter. And yes, the best part of this is the weather has held up. Sun is shining and trickling down to this old grass field that only plays day games. Mac Driver coming on out. 1 touchdown thrown today, his 9th of the season. The guy who they always anticipated being QB1 by his senior year, 3-year varsity player, and arguably one of the best quarterbacks on this island, according to both head coaches. He'll start from the own 29-yard line, with Clinton being the motion man. And the handoff to Tyshawn Lopez, breaking 2 tackles across midfield and keeps moving his way up to the 41.
You know, this is a backup. You know, this is a complementary player to Nick Silva, and you see the depth and skill. Tyshawn Lopez as a junior, could only imagine what he'd be like a year from now, an extra year in the system, extra year in the weight room. That's a big gainer down to the 40. And for a drive that started close to the 30, it's a 30-yard pickup for the Colonials on the first play of scrimmage in the second half.
Wellington this time, right up the gap, works up those seams and breaks a tackle. Slowed down on the rush by Michael Fiore, the junior. And a couple of good runs on the first 2 plays from scrimmage here in the third.
So 30 on the first play for Lopez, backed up by 20 more from Wellington. And we've just seen the depth of this Colonial backfield behind Nick Silva, who has 3 touches today, all 3 of them inside of the 10-yard line, and a pair of touchdowns. Lopez and Wellington doing the heavy lifting in the running game.
1st and 10 from the 21. Lopez again into a pile, dives forward, and some laundry on the field during the process. Offensive line overall today has done a pretty good job, so we have noticed. A group of a couple of sophomores starting, a junior, 2 seniors, and a freshman who ends up rotating in, and Brian Benson, who they are very, very impressed with, 66, who is out there at the moment. Opening up some big gaps for the numerous running backs that Paul Longo has thrown out there today. And this is, well, looks like he'll be coming back, personal foul. So we'll back him up to the 35. Actually be spotted at the 36. So it'll be 1st and 25. Driver from the gun. He'll keep it himself. Runs outside, lowering the shoulder, the stiff arm, and into the Ward Melville bench as he's helped up by his buddy Jordan Clinton. Driver was someone that the opposition head coach, Chris Bultrick, of course, brought up going into it. Said, you know, there's really no one tougher than him at that QB position this year because he's such a dual threat guy and he's so big and strong. It's tough to take him down whenever he decides to use his legs, and he's actually going to be limping towards the sideline. We're going to see Tommy Verga come in, number 17. Verga is a junior and backup quarterback, also a slot receiver, who has been a varsity basketball player since his freshman year. And now he'll take the signals.
You know, a lot of times if quarterbacks are two-way players, they typically play in the secondary. Driver is a linebacker, and that really describes the type of physicality and the type of stature that he has and he brings to the quarterback position.
So 2nd down and 20 from the 29. And we'll see if they want to use Verga as a flag flies, and this might be delay of game. So after 2 plays, which bring them from the 29-yard line all the way up to the opposition 21. The last 2, because of some penalties, have backed them up. Now it's a 2nd and long situation back at the 34. Verga getting the calls from the sideline. Statistically, just 2 carries, 14 yards, and a touchdown, and 0 for 1 passing. Called a very quality quarterback who they will be comfortable with next season as the team's future starter. Verga high snap, hands it off to Wellington. Wellington pulled in the backfield by who else? Dan Casera.
Tackle by number 20, Dan Casera.
Mac Driver walking back on. Didn't really see a lot of attention from the athletic trainer on the side. Watch that 2nd down play, a little bit hunched over from the waist as Dan Casera with another TFL. Or at least in this case, a tackle in the open field for a short gain.
The marker's all the way down at the 11. 4 for 6 on 3rd downs today. Driver throws, looks left, finds Wagner outside the numbers at the 22, and moves himself up to about the 16. So this will be a fairly long field goal. And I think that's why they brought in Driver, just for his arm in this situation.
I think they brought him back because he sat out a play and seems to be okay. Whatever ailment he had, he seems to have shaken it off. And you certainly want your primary starter out there at this critical point of the game.
Yeah, still a little slow with that leg. It'll take 4th down and 6. Pressure comes, throws, turnover on downs. Getting into the backfields was Mark Corey, the middle linebacker. And the Patriots are fired up, still take over with the ball back in their own 17.
Driver stood in the pocket and took a hit to make a play, but an incompletion on the sideline, and Ward Melville bends, but they do not break. They gave up 50 yards on the ground on the first 2 plays from scrimmage. A personal foul and a false start against the Colonials stalled the drive. And Ward Melville, with a long field to operate with, needs a touchdown.
1st and 10, their own 17, right hash marks. 2 receivers on both sides. Minnelli showing blitz on the right. Berry in the backfield. Wrapped up there by PK Kite, in addition to Randy Russo. Russo has been splitting time at that inside linebacker position with his defense in the front 7 that has been so good.
Russo untouched into the backfield coming off the edge. His own blocking scheme for the offensive line was shifting to the left, and nobody accounted for Russo typically playing in the inside coming off the edge.
Berry looking to throw, ball gets deflected and then incomplete. Russo again, I believe, is the one who got his hand on the ball.
Well, he was applying the heat once again with Mike Terry in coverage guarding J.J. Lapp. And Russo is coming off the edge, and the right tackle is just not sensing him. And depending on the status, we see Driver, the outside linebacker, not in on this drive, and so Russo has actually moved from the inside to out.
3rd down and 12, and they're only 1 for 6 in that situation. Now 1 for 7. Incomplete, looking for Velez on the far side of the not to say turf, I'm so used to saying that, far side of the grass.
That's a good synonym, even if it's the real stuff, as DJ Bennett already dealing with an ankle injury after that play, coming up a bit limp. And so it appears that we have Mac Driver only playing offense and Nick Silva only playing defense. So 2 of William Floyd's best players at this point are limited.
6th punt today for this group, as Tommy Delaporta puts it high in the air but not very far. They get a good bounce. which will bring him to the 39-yard line. So Floyd will take over there for their second drive of the third quarter. Just under 8 minutes to play here in this third frame. You talk about how good the defense has been today for William Floyd High School, holding this team to really just one big play. And offensively, Ward Melville has only scored once. Nick Troy has been shut down, and it's very, very similar to what the defense of Floyd did a week ago against Central Islip's Tyleek Walker, who had 300 yards the week before them. Driver rolls out in the spin move, throws, it's caught right at the 20-yard line. That's Eddie Longo with his second catch of the season. The guy who was working as the H-back / tight end.
You know things are going well when they begin to incorporate other players into the offense. Good sign for Mac Driver, who came off in the last series because of an apparent leg injury, to move the pocket and use his legs to set up the throw.
Wellington to the outside, and nobody is there. Wellington to the end zone. Touchdown, Colonials.
Number 27, Zion Wellington.
Zion Wellington, his third TD of the season, and puts another 6 on the board for Floyd.
Taking advantage of a short field. Takes just 2 plays for the Colonials to find Paydirt. We'll take a look at the touchdown after the PAT, and it was just such a subtle move by Wellington that really threw off the defense.
Panicia's PAT, good once again, as it has been all day long. 35-12 is the score here in the third quarter.
Wellington shifting his body to the left, and a change of direction on the counter to the right. Nice job by Musselman and Horder, the right side of the line, to seal it. He's untouched from all the way out, and a touchdown for Wellington. Adding to the touchdown from Lopez, you throw in the 2 by Silva, and the top 3 in the depth chart for William Floyd for this run-based attack in which we have come to know and love over the past nearly quarter of a century under Paul Longo. The running attack is in full effect today against Ward Melville in this 1 versus 2 matchup.
I'm sure you like seeing Mac Driver put the arms up again as soon as he knew he had some open space.
You know, the first time was a bit of a novelty, and now...
news now for you?
Yeah, you know. And on that one, it was a bit more obvious, I think. I don't know. I shouldn't take anything away from the kids. Bad job by me. You know, last week I made my first, get off my lawn comments, and I just made another. So I need to turn things around.
Well, you're starting to get old now. Ball's loose. Floyd almost had it, but Troy was able to pounce on the pigskin right around the 23 as it got past Stephen Germain and many others. And check that, it was actually number 22, Governal, who was able to do so. And that keeps the ball with Ward Melville. That ball was bouncing all over the place.
Well, who wants it? And in fact, it seemed like a couple of players right around the football thought that possession had been secured. This is a live football. Good scrum. Good quality old school scrum. And when you dive, you might not get the football, but you're definitely going to get some grass.
So down another 7. Barry looks over. Man in motion is Germain. The handoff to Troy. and goes a very short way, just 3 feet ahead.
You know, something we said during halftime was that William Floyd, their players, their number ones, have not needed to play the fourth quarter, and we are teetering on that. And while William Floyd is in control, it's an advantage of 23. We're not quite at that point yet, but things are certainly tilted in the Colonials' favor against a very good Ward Melville team that continues to fight and continues to push and continues to have an offense on the field that can make big plays.
Barry throws, caught by Velez, but not much yak after that catch. Only up to the 29-yard line. This group overall for Ward Melville, again, tryout numbers were down this year. 2 years ago was a staggering change for Chris Boltrick after reaching the county championship game, and he knows it too. Listen, you got to get to your title games. You have to have those big signature wins. All the other little things, it helps, but it's not going to be the one that gets you that same kind of depth and amount of fans to come out and amount of players to come out for your football program. Barry across the middle, ball gets deflected, intended for Velez again. And a couple of guys in the coverage. Greg Trent was like a blanket smothering Velez.
Here's what I think is really cool about Chris Boltrick in his 5th season coaching his alma mater. He's bringing the current Patriots, the Ward Melville team that he's coaching, to greater heights than the Ward Melville program when he played. And I think, Dan, we see a lot of players coming back to the alma mater to continue a tradition, to enjoy the success as an adult as they had as a kid. But Chris Boltrick is back at his alma mater to bring the Patriots to a level in which they haven't been in over 40 years.
Fair catch was called. And another flag here. The fair catch, and Berga going back to receive it. Had some trouble here on the punt return thus far for this group. But yeah, you mentioned this, and listen, the Ward Melville sideline is full of guys who played at Ward Melville. He's actually coaching with the guy who coached him, Ron Muscarella, who's the defensive coordinator. That was his coach back in the day. And also, when you told Paul Longo what year that Boltrick graduated, he just kind of shook his head and said, man, I'm getting old.
That was about midway through the tenure for Paul Longo, who took over the Varsity in '95. Favorites coming into the season after their county title appearance last year against a Lindenhurst team that both lost their standing as a Division I school. They're now in Division II because of enrollment, and also their star, Jeremy Ruckert.
Lopez. And it's about a 1-yard gain, and Northport moving down as well to Division II, which has actually been the team that you see yourself in and has seen themselves for a number of years in the Big Four. Finds themselves in the playoffs with some good wins over the years under Kip Lucarelli, who just retired himself. Congratulations, Coach Lucarelli. As we said on our Team of the Week, back on the Football Fix, which again, Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Anna Puglisi, our host, bringing around that tri-state.
You congratulating him that he doesn't have to answer our phone calls anymore, is that?
Kip?
Yeah.
Kip's a good guy. I think he actually enjoyed doing it for the most part. 2nd down and 9. Casera again in the backfield, wrapping up Zion Wellington. Well, no question, he has been the biggest standout in this game on the defensive side of the ball.
This is another thing that I love. We get to take a bird's eye view of the game, understand the flow, make predictions or thoughts about the outcome. And the players just get to go out there and play and enjoy it and work hard and play hard. And Dan Casera, coming off the edge, has unloaded a trio of hits in the backfield that are resounding against this Colonial running team.
He's had more tackle for losses today than he has all season. Nice on Lopez with a carry and not going very far, so 4th down upcoming. And just about, it's like 13.
And another thing I loved, speaking with Chris Bultrick this week. 5th season, they've had a taste of success. He said, we're tired of moral victories. And we can wax poetically in the second half about how hard Ward Melville is playing, which they are, and how much they're engaged, and the fact that they are in a position to mount a comeback because of their skill. And all of those things are true and well and good, but Chris Bultrick came into this week, drove south on the road to this tough environment, to this historic environment, and wanted to really test his team to understand whether or not they can beat the #1 team, whether or not they can be the top dog. And I thought something was so interesting in our conversations. He said 5-0 is great, but as the #2 seed, that means we've beaten every single team below us. That is what is expected of us, which I think is an incredible take, because you have to win the game on the field. And sometimes the preseason rankings are wrong. And in this case, for the #1 and #2 seed, they haven't been, because those have been the 2 undefeated teams, as William Floyd is trying to play for and win their first county title since '87.
Well, he does have a lot of multi-sport athletes as Winfrey wraps up Berry in the backfield. Agbo pursuit by #8. While he have a lot of multi-sport athletes, a lot of guys who have played on Jay Nagus's lacrosse state championship teams, and team that has won the Long Island Championship the last 3 years, Nick Troy being one of them, it's tough. It's very, very tough to take away and become yourself a football school when all the success is on a field and in a completely different season. Be a 2nd and 9 from the 41. It is cut by Lapp, and he is stopped by Terry right at the 45.
Lapp could not get out into open space. Nice job closing quickly. Lapp does have that band around his left leg. I can't recall whether or not he had that earlier, as he, on the line of scrimmage, stretching out that left leg, flexed it just a little bit before checking with the linesman to make sure that he was onside.
1 for 7 on 3rd downs. Berry in the backfield again. Nicky Silva on the pursuit.
Something that Chris Bultrick told us, and Paul Longo as well, regular season's all well and good. Ultimate prize is the end. And if these seats hold, they'll be on opposite sides of an 8-team bracket in Division I, and the only time they could play again is the championship. So as you prepared for this week, how much are you also preparing for all the way in November?
Exactly.
How much are you game planning for today compared to later on in the season? And there's obviously no guarantee that these teams would face each other, but they would be on a collision course if things hold up.
Berry in the backfield once again. Tyshawn Lopez with the sack on 4th and 7. It's a turnover on downs. And Floyd has a little more than 90 seconds plus the full 12 minutes to seal away their 6th victory of the season. And right now, all the momentum on the home team side. One for 8 on 3rd downs, 0 for 3 on 4th downs. Those are not numbers that are going to help you come back when you have been trailing throughout a football game.
The ones are in for William Floyd, except for the quarterback, Thomas Verga, the junior, to take this snap.
Verga to Wellington, and grabs 2 or 3 yards on this carry.
Trying to take a look at the sidelines and peek where Driver is. He's upright, standing with the coach, helmet on. So more than anything else, just appears to be an opportunity to preserve Driver, allow the junior Verga some snaps against a very good defensive front. And we were thinking about and talking about the future in terms of November, but this is the future of 2019 with Verga as quarterback for William Floyd.
Verga takes the carry, gets past Casera and has the block on the left side. Verga inside of the 15-yard line. Jack Gillian with the stop, saving the 6 points. Well, designed to run and had all the blocks on that side. So clock running down here in the third frame. Ball on the 12 for a 1st and 10. Verga fouls his blockers, but is met by the Patriots at the line of scrimmage. Grab maybe 1 or 2 yards. They'll give him 2 up to the 10. And that should pretty much do it here for the third quarter. And it does, as they'll walk off. So a quarter that was needed for the Patriots. And they punted twice, turned over the ball once on downs. In that time period, another 6 came on the board. Zion Wellington's TD run extends the lead. It's 35-12. The William Floyd Colonials just 12 minutes shy of starting the season at a perfect 6-0 record. Stay with us here in the fourth quarter, only on News 12 Varsity. Some great merchandise being sold on the sidelines here at William Floyd High School, as the stands are lined with Floyd gear on their bodies, many of them saying 10-time county titles. And right now they hold a 35-12 lead with 12 minutes to go in regulation time, and they're also knocking on the door. 2nd down and 8. Ball on the 10-yard line. Verga breaks a couple of tackles. He'll be wrapped up right around the 14-yard line. David Resnick, Dan Savarino, thanks for joining us this Saturday afternoon. Way out here in Suffolk County, or Suffolk Division I football. The game that so many had their eyes on coming into this. I think everyone expected Floyd to, of course, to at least be up towards the game, but you're really curious to see what you would get from the Ward Melville Patriots with Floyd's first real big test this season.
Yeah, especially when you consider that Ward Melville played Connecticut, the number 3 team currently at 4-1, and beat them handily 36-6. So the Patriots had taken care of one test and they had another big one today.
Verga to Clinton, jumps up and has it. Touchdown, William Floyd. Tommy Verga's first touchdown pass of the season. Clinton's 6th TD reception. And just 6 more points piling up here in the fourth quarter.
Whatever memory Jordan Clinton has of his first quarter mishap in the end zone, I think everything could be completely wiped clean, because that was a tremendous jump ball, high pointing the football in the corner of the end zone. And the trust that Verga had to throw it up to Clinton, who was defended by a pair, was great.
So 14-yard touchdown reception for Jordan Clinton. 42-12 lead into double coverage. And Clinton goes up and gets it. It's something that Paul Longo brought up to us. If Clinton's on a lot of other teams, but he's never been big about running up scores or anything like that, his numbers would have been through the entire roof this entire season. And coming into today was just 12 for 222 and 5 TDs. That's at least receiving numbers. Another 2 touchdowns on the ground.
He just outleaped Jordan Lapp there. It's a well-thrown ball. Really, you know, the phrase, throw it up and let your receiver go and make a play. Let him go get it. I mean, that's a great example. He threw it to the goal line. He threw it early, threw it before Clinton was really looking for it, and just trusted that Clinton would outwork and outleap the defense, which he did. And credit William Floyd offensively, averaging 44 a game behind an offensive line that has been a pleasant surprise this season. They've got 42 on the board today against a stout defense that had only allowed 45 total points in the first 5 weeks.
The most they surrendered was 14 in week 1. And they already had control of that game at that point.
First time all season that the Ward Melville ones on defense have allowed any type of significant points.
Skipped on to the ground. They, of course, want to keep it out of the hands of Troy. Instead, Stephen Germain picks it up from the 20-yard line. They changed directions a few times, broke a tackle or two, and Terry stops him right around the 27-yard line. Late flag on the play.
I think you inadvertently brought up a point about Nick Troy. William Floyd has kicked away from him in both the kickoff game and the punting game. And so Troy's touches on special teams have been limited. That has kept him contained. It's hurt the field position for Ward Melville. And you have to believe that it's a cumulative effect for Troy of not getting the ball or not getting in space that really adds up.
For the 5 games this year, Nick Troy has had at least a century mark of rushing yards. Today, he is well below that. Of course, unofficially, but this is just what the Floyd defense does to you. They smother you, they pressure your offensive line, and they contain some of the best guys around.
Called the best defensive line by Paul Longo that he's ever had in 24 years. When you include the 4 linebackers as part of their base 3-4, it's a front 7 that is designed to stop the run, and a front 7 that is very successful in doing so. Even against arguably one of the best backs in the county in Nick Troy, who remains out there with his quarterback Trey Berry, as Paul Longo looks for an additional explanation after the 15-yard penalty against his squad.
As the team looks on, Mac Driver, who did not come out in the last series, he's probably standing on the sideline, at least from here on out. Not 100%, of course, was limping early on in this quarter.
And just as you talked about an injury, Randy Russo running in to tag Nick Silva, the stellar two-way player, the defensive stalwart at inside linebacker. No reason really to keep him out there in this 4th quarter with a comfortable lead. Probably doesn't agree with it, but that's why adults are left to make those decisions.
You can look it on his face right there. That kid is an absolute animal. And we've been watching him for 4 years now play football.
You know, if he smiles, that means he acknowledges that it's the right call. So he just wants to keep that look of determination. And his helmet not too far away in order to get the call to go back in.
Him in the county championship game 2 years ago. As Barry rolls right, and Winfrey is there, wrapping him up in the backfield along with Randy Russo.
You know, Silva's thinking that could have been his sack.
Silva, so in the county championship 2 years ago against the Patriots, he had 161 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he was basically limping almost the entire second half, still playing both sides of the pigskin. And for them, they also had a guy named James Tate who had himself a heck of a day and came on strong towards the end of the season as they're fast back to help out Silva. So Nicky has been doing everything he possibly can, And this will be pass interference as DJ Bennett pulls back Marcus Velez.
Interesting comment on Velez. You would think at his stature, one of the last things needed would be for Velez to get stronger. But that's something that he worked on this past offseason to get better for blocking. I would think also to become a bit stronger, to get better at warding off the defense. And his football future, I think, is really interesting, Dan, because the vitals are there. 6'5", 230. We've seen him with good hands, catching the ball with defenders draped all over him. And so it'll be interesting to see where he ends up and what his thoughts are to play football at the next level.
And getting some looks from FCF schools, some Ivy Leagues. Those grades can help you.
And that might be his future, lining up on the left side of the line as a tight end. Maybe more so playing that position with the hands in the ground compared to his wide receiver spot currently at the high school level.
Keith Winfrey in the backfield, slowing up Nick Troy. Well, that was the reason why we brought it up during our open, David. These were the two big matchups. Number 8 against 43, and so far it has been 8 who has won this battle.
8 with a lot of help, too.
Yeah, that too.
It's a unit, but if you're looking for a leader, it is Winfrey. The motor, I mean, that just stands out. The way that he makes the tackle and then even celebrates getting back to the line, looking for more with his hand in the ground on the left side of the line on this 3rd and short.
6'3", 230 pounds is Winfrey, as Troy only goes another foot, but it's all he really needed for the first down here on 3rd. And we'll see where they spot this. It is a first down. Only the 2nd time they have converted on a 3rd down today. 2 for 9. And Longo even mentioning if Winfrey's a little bit bigger than 6'3", 230, with the heart and skill he has, he'll be playing at an even higher level, or getting looked at an even higher level. Showing blitz on the outside, flag on the play. And it will be encroachment. So 5-yard penalty. We'll bring it to a first down and 5. A little more than 9 minutes to go here in the 4th quarter. This was a 1-score game at one point back in the 2nd quarter. And what a wild first half it was, but Floyd has not surrendered the lead today. Troy breaks one tackle, cuts to his right, keeps moving those legs, and only back to the original line of scrimmage.
It was Lapp that made it interesting with that 65-yard 3rd down conversion, a quick slant in which he split the defense with a great low hands catch for the first score of the quarter midway through the 2nd. And then a pair of, or really 3 touchdowns were scored in the final 2.5 minutes. Some back and forth action, an offensive explosion really for both teams in terms of a bunch of points in a small amount of time. Lapp's 2nd touchdown would come on that pick 6. They just haven't really been able to sustain drives. And in fact, the touchdown coming on a very similar play like that. It's just this time the defense keeping Lapp in front and the tackle made in the secondary.
It'll be a first down up to the 35 of Floyd territory. And these are new places for Ward Melville. And a lot different than it was a year ago as Troy spins off a couple of tackles back to the 30. If you look back to year 2 under Bultrek, they lose a heartbreaker to Connecticut. Then they see them again the very next season, get their first playoff win in 30 years, find themselves in the county title. You know the whole story by now. But this group, this season, expectations were higher than maybe ever in the program's history.
Well, at least in this, what we'll call modern era.
Yes.
You know, outside of their great run in the 70s, their county championship in '87, the current player's lifetime, we'll go with that.
Well, that doesn't say too much.
Well, I didn't want to bring our ages into it, so I left it for the
Hey, I'm not
kids
that
on the
old,
field.
all right?
No, that's the point. You're that young.
Another first down, ball moving up to the 20-yard line now. Yeah, that's the big thing though, this season. At least last year when they opened up the second week of the year against Connecticut, lost a heartbreaker in overtime. They had some losses along the way. Overtime loss in game 2, the Floyd loss in game 4, Lindenhurst loss in week 8, and then eventually bounced at home in the quarterfinals. Coming into this season, and I'm sure having teams like Lindenhurst and Northport moving down maybe change things up a little bit more, but with the pieces that they returned and the program they have started to build over the last number of years, this was going to end up being the season that they knew they were in that upper tier.
And here's the thing about their status as the number 2 seed. They're going to lose this week with 2 weeks to go, going on the road to Longwood. And Longwood is going to be geared up to play the number 2 seed, a team that's 5-1. And then they'll finish at Comac. And so it's a little different for Ward Melville coming off of a loss with where they are in the big picture at 5-1, and still a team that the rest of Division I is looking to hunt.
Longwood currently playing at Whitman today. And Troy's gonna go take a seat here on a 3rd down and 13. PK Kite will come off, and we'll end up seeing
Charles Gonzalez checking in.
Barry will throw on 3rd down towards the end zone, intended for Lap. Gets slowed up just a bit. Officials smartly keeping the flags in the pockets. So we'll bring up a 4th and 13 from the 23.
You don't like penalties? At certain times and scores, is that what you're trying to say?
I've never been a big, I mean, listen, I'm a different person with that. I think you can have a little more contact, but I've always felt
it's
that.
an overall philosophy.
It's an overall philosophy with pass interference for me.
Lap got turned around, and a bit of a miscommunication there on 3rd down.
Barry with pressure fires a bullet across the middle, intended for Lap. Turnover on downs from the 23 of Floyd. And 5 minutes remaining. One more win for Paul Longo will move him up in the rankings in not just Suffolk County, but of course Long Island, New York State. And you look at the all-time leaders in Suffolk County wins. The great Joe Sipp from Bellport to 11. And Longo could pass Terry Manning, who again is still active. He fell last night.
The only 2 that are active on this list, and if the reason why it's important for the distinction of public schools is that Richie Reichard has the most wins in Suffolk County history overall for his, I think, 230 and counting at St. Anthony's.
And which will be coming to an end at the end of this season for Coach Reichard. Plans to retire.
But it's so impressive when you consider 24 years taking over a program that didn't really win. You know, he's the winningest coach in program history. He wasn't taking over or continuing a superpower. He was taking over a team after 3 years as a JV head coach that needed work. And to create that type of resume over 24 years, the 10 county titles, the 14 county title game appearances, the 5 Long Island championships. So impressive to see Paul Longo move up the ranks and be in the conversation with a lot of those Suffolk County coaching legends.
It's Chris Coonan on the carry, 35, the junior. And there it is, 14 title game appearances, That's come in the last 20 years as well. 17 playoff appearances, 5 LICs in that huge stretch from 05 to 07. He has built this program up year after year. A team that reached the finals last year, and I'm sure that's one of those banners that you're kind of proud of. You're proud of what you did. You got yourself to the championship game. Of course, you still want to win that.
You know, it's interesting. The smaller the print, the more accomplishments. And you talk about filling the shoes or extending the legacy. Well, every day that you come out to practice, every day that you come out on a Saturday afternoon, it really smacks you in the face when you put on the colonial green and white exactly what you are trying to get to the level of. To see the championship banners, the accomplishment banners. There are very few years that are missing when you start in 1998 and you go all the way to the present day. How over the past previous, I should say, 20 seasons, how there's something to an accomplishment that was made in that year that you want to flaunt.
The punt after the 3 and out, and ball will be marked just past the 30-yard line. It is something that is, we always talk about in programs, how they succeed, right? It starts from the youth, and it starts how it builds. You look around the stands, a lot of these kids that have been on this field grew up watching a lot of these players. They grew up watching the Stacy Bedells win county championships when they were just youngsters. And a student section that is always involved. But it's the younger guys in their preteens and even younger than that who play in these feeder systems and grow up watching, which in a way is like their heroes. New quarterback coming in is Justice Spencer, a junior, 6 foot, 194. So for the last 253, he will take over.
You know, it's interesting from a defensive perspective for Floyd. They shut out Ward Melville in the first and the third, and they're pitching a shutout here in the fourth. And they only allowed 1 offensive touchdown to this point. Gillen will get credited for the catch and then the fumble recovery, which might have picked up about a yard.
So it'll work it from the 34 on a 2nd and 9. Handoff up the middle, and Michael Fiore picks it up to the 40-yard line. Fiore, a guy who's really stepped up as their number 2 running back, and they'd have an injury early on the season. Frank Siniglio tore his ACL week 3, and they felt he was going to be a two-way player as the number 2 running back and starter at linebacker. Also a pretty darn good lacrosse player from what we have seen.
You know, this was a good game for Floyd. They didn't get 4 quarters out of their starters, but they got into the 4th quarter with their starters. First time really all season, it seems, Dan, that they were at least challenged after halftime and had to complete the game or get it to a point where they could rest. That's going to go a long way for this Floyd program this season as a nice completion over the middle.
That's number 16, Jelani Reynolds, who makes the grab. Oh, excuse me, Travis Moiringer. Look at the wrong 16.
So for Floyd, preseason number 1, perfect now through 6 weeks, building another season in which they can add a championship-type banner to the exterior of the field. And what a reception off the deflection. It's Moiringer again. And for Ward Melville, You accept the loss and you move forward, knowing that you'll probably have to go through Floyd again if you want to accomplish your ultimate goal this season. There are definitely some things that you could take away from that are positive, but Chris Boltrek in our talks this week most likely won't focus on those things as his team looks to build to a greater goal than just being 5-0 through 5 weeks and just being a number 2 seed.
Fiore with a good burst of speed for the first down. And inside the 15 as the clock is right around 20 seconds remaining. Again, at Longwood versus Comac. 2 games that if you are Ward Melville, you do not want to have a hiccup there. Finish off the season with the 1 loss.
At Sachem North, home against Connecticut, the final 2 for the Colonials.
With 10 seconds to go to the end zone, Gillen incomplete. And there'll still be 4 seconds on the clock for most likely just the 1 final play from scrimmage.
We talked about it from the top. It's amazing when you have a scenario and a date circled on the calendar to say 1 versus 2. Both teams have the chance to be undefeated. Let's have a Saturday afternoon showdown. And that's what happened through the first 5 weeks. Both Ward Melville, William Floyd were perfect entering week 6. Close game through the first half. And the second half, Floyd really flexed its muscle with a couple of touchdowns to put the game away.
Spencer and the handoff to Fiore. And that is it. A wire-to-wire victory for William Floyd High School, and they stay unbeaten. 6-0 record, 42-12 win. Mac Driver had a TD pass. 2 touchdown rushing for Nick Silva, who didn't start the game as the team's lead back, but still capped it off with some much-needed points. As the Colonials showed the strength in their defense and their depth at the running back position. Still more to come here on News 12 Varsity. Stay with us on Channel 61. And we welcome you back here to William Floyd High School. 42-12 win for the Colonials over the Patriots. They stay perfect. 6-0 in hand Ward Melville, their very first loss of the season. Will bring us to our News 12 Varsity play of the game, and it was late in the second quarter.
There are 2 aspects of this play by J.J. Lapp. First is the catch, and then it's the speed. Looking like a wide receiver because he is one on offense. He got to the finish line, flying across the goal line. This was potentially a momentum-swinging play for Ward Melville. William Floyd would answer right back with its own touchdown to negate that type of momentum play, but J.J. Lapp with a couple of explosive touchdowns today in a losing effort for the Patriots.
And that will bring us to our News 12 Varsity player of the game. Did play both ways in a way, and it's Nick Silva, the 4-year starter. Nick, Dan, and David up here in the booth. First of all, congratulations on the win. For this group to come away with a victory, you know, in the battle of the unbeatens, what did it mean for you guys to be able to stay and get this win on homecoming?
It meant a lot. We worked hard all week. Our athletic trainer, our coaches, they put in a lot of time in film, see tendencies, and then they coach us up for the game. And that's a big one for us.
Nick, you get a lot of headlines, and deservingly so, but your mates in the backfield, Tyshawn and Zion, you had a couple of short touchdown runs today in goal line situations, but what can you say about your teammates picking up the slack in your absence?
I'm absolutely very proud to have them. They got my back when I can't do something, and I'm lucky to have them.
All we kept talking about today and coming into this was the defense of William Floyd High School. Now, you've been on this team as a starting inside linebacker for 4 years. What is different about this year's defense and so special about it?
We all love each other. We work hard together. Since the offseason, we've been practicing, we've been going over plays, and now we got it down pat, and we're ready to just get after it.
Linebacker, running back, Nick Silva, thanks so much for the time and our News 12 Varsity player of the game. Best of luck going forward, bud.
Thank you. You guys, too.
All right, that's Nick Silva, who had 2 touchdowns today and plenty of tackles on the defensive side of the football. But today, again, just shows you once again how dominant the Floyd defense could be, David, and how good this team really is at this point of the season.
We wondered if they would play 4 quarters, if their starters would be needed for the entire game. The answer to that was no, but they played a complete game when you consider what they did on offense and defense, and wise special teams keeping the ball away in multiple occasions from Nick Troy. William Floyd has earned their 6-0 mark, and they are definitely stamped as the team to beat in Suffolk Division I.
Well, next week we'll be heading out to New Jersey for Red Bank Catholic and Rumson this upcoming Friday. This was a fun one from the start. William Floyd and Ward Melville coming in at a perfect unbeaten record, and it will be the Colonials who finish this off with a perfect 6-0 record. Many thanks to everyone here at News 12 Varsity. As always, of course, follow us on all social media platforms. Next week's game will be brought to you on Facebook Live as well as Channel 61. For David Resnick, I'm Dan Savarino. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you next time.